We're having an interview today, and we're sitting in the home of Greg and Sandy Dunn. They've invited us to come and to video here in their living room. But we have Sandy and Pam, and many of you know they're sisters. And we're going to talk a little bit about their growing up time as preachers' kids, as missionaries' kids, and what does that mean and what did that look like from their perspective. We've heard their mom's perspective. Now we're going to get their perspective. So thank you for having us in the home, and thank you for being willing to do this. So just to get started, both of you, your dad had already surrendered to ministry before you were born. Yes. So you grew up a preacher's kid, didn't know anything different.
No.
That's just the way it is. Okay. Now, the idea of going on to missions, and he was appointed to East Africa, well, all of you were. How did that change things? What do you remember any change, or how old were you when that took place? Just guessing.
I was 10.
You were 10, so you knew.
I was 7, but that's when we actually went.
Yes,
You know, so
yes.
Okay, so it was a little bit before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, they were what, language school a year?
I think so. Well, they were in language school when
Over
they got to
there,
Africa.
yeah. But they did some type of training, didn't they, before
the-
they?
Oh, I'm sure they
Yeah,
do.
there was quite a bit.
The mission
Yes.
board is very thorough.
Right.
I
At
mean,
least
they-
a year, I would
Yes,
say, before we left.
You have to be a seminary graduate. You have to do some work,
Mhm.
and then did some language work in country. Do you remember ever being interviewed by anyone at the mission board? Did they ever speak with you about it?
No,
Okay.
I don't remember that.
Don't remember that?
We were
Okay.
too young, I guess.
So you guys leave the United States, Shelby County, where you grew up.
Never been out of Kentucky.
Never been out of Kentucky.
No.
Well, this was a fun trip, wasn't it? Okay. Well, what was that like? What was it like packing up and moving? How did you feel?
You know, as at the age I am now, or even younger, I would have been terrified, but it was exciting.
It was
We were
exciting.
excited,
You were
yeah.
excited to go.
We're gonna get to ride on a ship and get on a plane, and oh yeah, it
And
was
I
exciting.
remember thinking it's going to be like Tarzan movies. We're going
Tarzan.
to Africa.
Yeah. It's probably best you thought that then.
Yeah,
Because when you got there,
exactly.
that was a whole different thing. So you guys leave. What year was it that y'all left? Was it like early 60s, wasn't it?
61, I
In
think.
61,
Yeah.
okay. So you got on a ship where? In New York Harbor.
New York.
New Harbor.
All right,
Sailed
remember your
out,
mom
Statue
talking
of
about
Liberty.
your mom talking about waving to them? Did anybody of your family come there, or did you say goodbye in Shelby County?
We said
We said
goodbye in
goodbye.
Louisville.
Yeah.
In
At the
Louisville.
airport.
Okay, so
They
you
were
flew
there to-
from Louisville then to New York. Okay.
Mhm.
What was that like?
I remember my granddaddy crying,
Huh.
I do too.
I remember your mom talking about
Uh-huh.
that. You were so
and I
proud
remember daddy
I
crying.
remember, it's the first time I remember seeing my daddy.
Yeah.
because they knew this is a big deal.
Well,
Well,
Daddy's-
and daddy was the baby, and his parents were older.
Yeah, I don't think he thought he'd ever see him again,
Mm,
because they were
really?
old when they went.
Oh my,
Yeah.
that's the part of going on missions or even being in ministry that's tough. Is that you a lot of times you move away from family, and that makes it a little challenging. So you get on the ship at New York Harbor and you sail where?
I think to Athens, Greece, if
We
I'm not
never went through the
mistaken.
Strait of Gibraltar. I think it was Athens.
I think so.
How long of a trip was that? Can you have
I don't remember.
don't remember how far, but everything was fun about it.
It
huh?
was fun.
was
I
over a
remember
week.
Over a
watching. We
week?
got to
Yeah.
watch an
Okay.
Abbott and Costello movie on the boat. I mean,
And eat
random,
good
but
food.
yeah, it was fun.
Yes. Okay. So we get on the plane. See, kids, you need to go on missions. So you get to Athens. You fly then into Nairobi, I guess.
Yes.
All right. And what happens then? What's the next thing that takes
How did we
place?
get from Nairobi to Dar? Did we fly into Nairobi or did we fly into Dar?
I think we flew into Dar.
I think we did too,
Okay.
because that's where the language school was.
Okay. So mom and dad did the year language school.
Yes.
What did you guys do as far as school? How did that
British
work?
school.
British.
You went to British school.
Yes.
Okay.
In our
Now.
little uniforms.
Okay.
I was terrified once I got there.
Now, how old were you
I
again?
was 7.
You were 7.
Mm-hmm.
And
you
10.
and 7 and 10.
And we were
Okay.
such an oddity that all the children just swarmed around us.
The African children.
do you
We've got
remember how
lots of
afraid I
pictures
was?
of she's grabbing my hand. There's lots of pictures of us holding hands
Holding
because she
hands.
was so
I
scared.
was so scared.
I remember our kids being scared going like to grade school in the town we lived in. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what it's like. And here, bless your heart, from Shelbyville, Kentucky, and you go into a British-speaking school. So that got
the
their
village,
attention.
well, it wasn't the British that laughed at it, it was the little African children. They were so intrigued by us.
They wanted
And
to
me,
touch us, you know, they
Yeah.
Rub your hair and all
I
that.
should have been on the stage back then because I got more pleasure out of making them laugh. I could do just anything, and they would laugh hysterically. Well, that just egged me off.
Yeah, it gets
Meanwhile, Pam was sitting here holding on to my hand.
They're like, and this is when I told you I had first grade in the States.
Mhm.
And then I went there to second grade. I was supposed to be, and there were no chairs. So they took me to third grade. There were no chairs. So I went in fourth grade. So I went from first to fourth grade. So not only did I
Not
have,
because of
I wasn't smart.
of
I was smart,
advance.
but not because of
It's
that.
not because of that. Is they just didn't have a chair for you.
They did not have a chair for me.
I believe I would have gone and bought a chair and brought my own chair. So you went from first to fourth grade because there was no chairs.
That's right. So it was all new, and everybody has a British accent, and they were talking about things that I was way over my head. So
So
it was
it just
interesting.
it just gets better
It
the whole
just
time. Now, talk about boarding school. I mean, we hear about it on movies and we've heard of that, but you live there. I mean,
Yes, this was, we were in British schools except for 1 year. I remember in 6th grade, Mom taught us through, was it Calvert course, is that what it was called? Then we moved to Nairobi and we're in British school again. And then for my 8th grade year, it was furlough time, so we came back to the States.
and that's about a year. Furlough's about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So then you went to school
Then we were
here,
back to
and then go
boarding
back.
school. That's when we went to boarding school.
I was 7th grade, and you were 9th grade.
I was
right?
9th grade, yes.
Okay.
That's when we went to boarding
Now,
school.
We were in different dormitories.
Okay, different dormitories. That
And
was
she
fun
was
for you, I'm
terrified.
sure.
Well, it was scary. That
Yeah.
that was a scary and homesick.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was 11.
11.
And talking about the boarding school, it was about a 7.5 hour drive over dirt roads
To where mom and dad was.
to where Mom and Dad were.
Seven
So
and a
we
half hour
were
drive.
totally isolated. We had no cell phone. We had no way of contacting
No computer.
them. No computer.
No email.
No.
Only
nothing.
snail mail.
Mhm.
We went for 3 months, and then we'd come home for a month. Went 3 months home for a month.
We
Our
traveled
school year
home.
went year round.
Traveled home overnight
Well, I
on the
remember-
train.
Well, your
Uh-huh.
mom talking about you coming on a train, so it was an overnight trip on the train.
Yes.
Well, it's like y'all were in college. I mean,
It was.
in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
you're at a different school, away from mom and dad. I'm sure it got you ready for college, but
That's
it was a
what I
little
was gonna
tough,
say.
wasn't
It
it?
did. It
Well, it's-
helped prepare us for college. being
Funny
away
you
from
mention that, because my freshman year at college, there were girls that were homesick, they were crying, and I would think,
home. It's nothing.
Wimps.
you know,
Yeah, get over it. Yeah, get over
And
it.
they could go home.
And they could
We
go
weren't in
home,
the
yeah.
position where we
You
could
were
go
able to
home.
go
We were
home. Okay.
there.
Well, so it just shows that mom and dad being obedient to the Lord, how it affected your life. I mean, that the family goes, and they're doing it to this day. We have missionary families all over the world that the kids load up and go. Of course, now it's easier with internet and homeschooling. It to be a lot more simple, but what's amazing to me is you can talk about being scary, you talk about this, but I've never heard either one of you talk about how you regret it. That it was an adventure. It was something I'm sure you had rough days.
Just our way of life, yeah.
That's it. You just didn't know anything else. This is what mom and dad does. This is what we're going to do. Okay? So now let's shift over a little bit to the idea of funding. Through the Southern Baptist Convention with the cooperative program, churches give a certain amount, whatever they choose, and that went to pay for your mom's and dad's salary, health care, the expenses that they needed. And that's one of the beautiful things about Southern Baptist missionaries is they're taken care of. They
so
don't have
many
to
of
come
our
back.
friends in school were not. See, our school was missionary kids, but all denominations.
Oh,
And so many of them had to come back every few months, raise the money, and then go back in Southern Baptist.
African Inland Mission,
Yes.
the missionaries.
We were so fortunate that we didn't have that.
didn't have to do that. Have to go back and raise funds. Right now, we're taking up the Light of the Moon Christmas offering for, now they call it international missions is the term now. And as far as, now at your age, that finances might not have been a big topic that you discussed, but do you remember anything about what was the difference between the cooperative program monthly support and the Light of the Moon that came, we're taking it right now. How were those two different from your perspective, what you've heard your mom and dad talk about?
Well, the cooperative program, like we said, supported mom and dad so that they could devote their time fully to ministry.
Mhm.
But even as a little girl, I remember so many times churches were waiting for support.
Roof or something.
Yeah, for the money, the Christmas offering is what they called it, to come in.
Okay, like
They
to
may
put a
need
roof on a
Bibles or
building.
hymnals or, yeah.
So the money then is not used for salaries, it's used to help the missionaries with their ministry, right?
Direct ministries.
Direct, okay, that's a good distinction to talk about, because we talk about how 100% of this goes to missionaries. It'd be easy to think, well, that pays their salaries. It's not it. It pays for their ministry, the
Right.
work they have to do. That's good.
Right.
So that every dollar we give, we know it's going to that roof, or it's
Right.
going to that Bible that they put in that.
And
That's
another
encouraging to
thing,
hear.
when I was at college, it provided a way for me to go back to Africa. They sent me back to Africa for the summer to spend with Mom and Dad, and then came back for my sophomore year.
Who sent you back?
The mission board.
The mission board did, so they paid for you to go back and forth. Okay. Well, it's so good to hear I mean, we try to explain this, but it's good for all of us to hear someone who actually lived this, who, you know, the funding that we give, it's easy just to think, well, we give it and we don't know, but you two lived this thing. I mean, and your mom, she did a great job of describing from her perspective, but I wanted to hear from your perspective some. So let's talk a little bit more, and then we'll talk later about growing up more, but the boarding school, the education you got, you were going to school with kids then from maybe all over the world, or?
Yes, yes, we were.
Okay, because other missionaries were there, but not Southern Baptists.
Yes.
Because you
Right.
said something about that.
It was an American accredited school, though, very high standards. At that time, and I think it still is, it was like high 90% that went on to further education college. So
Okay.
high standards.
And it was from first grade to 12th grade.
To 12th grade.
There were some
Little-
little
First
bitty
graders.
fellows there. They call them the titchies.
The what?
Titchies.
Don't ask me
That's just
why.
a British term
Oh.
for little bitty
For a little bitty,
Uh-huh.
and they're in a boarding school
Yes.
at first grade.
Yes,
With
away
their own
from their mom and
rooms.
daddy.
Yes.
Oh my word. Well, that,
And mom and dad would not send us until we started 7th grade. So
Okay.
that's,
well, I think, again, it shows that when adults enter into ministry, it changes the lives of your family. I mean, your family, you all went right along with them, you know. Great experiences, but there were some tough days and tough moments for both of them.
Very strict, the boarding school was. No dating. No dating.
Okay.
If you had a boyfriend, every night from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock, was it? You could be with your boyfriend on the porch of the
Standing
dorm.
there.
With
Standing
someone
at the
watching.
railing,
Oh, yeah.
with the dorm mother standing there watching.
As a parent, that's not a bad idea. I think maybe we should go back to that, you know, as far as parents with young sons and daughters. We should go back to that. Remember this, okay? There
But
you go.
it was so restricted that some of the kids that returned to the States, once they were let free and by themselves, really took the wrong path.
Went crazy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, we have just a few more minutes, and then, but I want to keep talking about this later. You talked about going over there, the adjustment was the British schools.
Yes.
How was it like coming back here on furlough and then going to Kentucky schools again?
Hard.
It was
It
hard.
was hard.
It was hard.
Was
I
that
remember
surprising to
even-
you that was hard? Was it surprising? Or?
Well, I guess, except you just feel so isolated. These kids have gone to school together for years, and then all of a sudden you're the kid from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember having to write an essay in social studies about some political or affair going on in the States. I didn't know what they were
You didn't know a
talking
thing about it, did you?
No. I wrote this elaborate thing on something that happened in Nairobi because that's all I know. I mean, he gave me an A+, on it for being, but yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
People would say to me, "Aren't you glad to be home?" And I would think, "I am not home.
You're not home.
This is not my
Now,
home."
East Africa felt like
I
home
was
because,
lost. I was like a fish out of water.
oh my.
It was hard, wasn't it?
We had neighbors that invited us to go, little beknownst to us, to a basketball game. It was just a nice man and woman that lived next door. So I guess they said felt sorry for us. Well, Pam and I bundled up. I mean, we had mittens on, scarves, gloves, hats, and everything, only to find out we thought it was a football game. It was a basketball game. So we were just a little out of
It
touch.
took a little bit to get adjusted to. Okay. Well, you go back to Africa. and mom and dad are doing the work, you guys are in school. How much longer did you go to the boarding school? You went till
I graduated there.
you graduated from the boarding school, and you went,
Furlough was once again upon us. I was home for 8th grade, and then I was home as a senior, and Pam was 10th grade.
so mom and dad comes back for a year. That's the furlough that we're talking about. So you guys had to change schools again. You did your senior year. You did your 10th grade. Then you went back.
I went back for my 11th and 12th, and Sandy stayed in the States.
So
I'm
that
sure-
was a
I'm sure mom and dad cried the second time when they left
that was a
home.
hard party.
I bet it was a hard party.
Yes. I'm
Yes.
at college, first time at college. I really don't know anybody, nobody, and they're almost 10,000 miles away.
And we
Yeah.
had some aunts and uncles that would come and get us and so forth. However, you have to realize that we weren't real close to any of them because we hadn't grown up
You
with
hadn't
them.
grown up around them.
No,
You were related to them, but you hadn't really spent a lot of time with them.
right.
Okay. Well, when you think about all that you go through, you realize the Lord can use that to whatever He has for you next.
Yes, it definitely
So-
prepared us for college.
For
Being in
college
the boarding school definitely
and
prepared
what
us
happens
And for
next.
life.
And for life,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to stop there because there's more life to go. But I thank Pam and Sandy for giving us a chance to see what it's like from the perspective of missionary family children as they are on the field. And we'll continue this discussion on another video.